Hello, everyone. Wanted to turn around and basically give you another lecture to go with as far as the material related to Chapter 10. This is on employee satisfaction and commitment. And so basically, it's not too terribly long. I want to talk about what job satisfaction is, job involvement, organizational commitment, that kind of stuff, as well as some of the theories that are part of this and in some of the conditions in which influence job satisfaction. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, what I want to do is define the two terms. And I said employee satisfaction. I'm going to refer to it as job satisfaction and what is called organizational involvement. Now, when we speak of job satisfaction, what we're talking about, as you see there, is attitudes that employees have towards their job. So what we're talking about is their level of satisfaction with their job overall. It could be on specific facets, such as their job satisfaction in terms of how they get along with the boss, with coworkers, their satisfaction levels with, just the job alone, and so on. Okay, some can be satisfied, some can obviously be dissatisfied, and different levels. When we speak of organizational commitment, what we're referring to is basically, as you see there, the extent to which an employee identifies with an organization, okay, feels they are part of the organization, and how involved they want to be. Are they the type that simply does the job and little else, or will they go above and beyond? Now, you might ask yourself, why do we even care about this kind of stuff? Why does it matter? And the reason is that, if they're employees, they're employees. But the reason is satisfied employees make for great employees, okay? The research tells us that satisfied employees, high job satisfaction, tend to be more committed to an organization. They tend to show up more regularly. They don't take as many sick days, or tardiness issues aren't as big with them. They have better longevity. They stay with the company longer. They're more loyal in that regard, and they tend to work hard and be more ethical in their work. They don't tend to break the rules and things like that. Okay, so those are the two terms, and they are very, very important. So let's talk about this. What causes employees to be satisfied and committed? First off, there are three motivational factors I want to mention here that you need to know. One is what we call affective commitment. You see there continuance commitment and normative commitment. Affective commitment is basically the extent to which an employee wants to be with an organization and cares about an organization. All right, this a lot of times is reflective in their overall job satisfaction. How they see things as a whole is a big, big part. It correlates well with what we call their affective levels of commitment. There's also what we refer to as a continuous commitment. Sometimes employees feel that they must remain with an organization because of the amount of time spent doing training, the expense put into getting them to the level that they are at, the promotions, the effort, and so on and so forth. So one would say the extent to which an employee believes that they have to stay with a company because they've already put so much into the company. And because they put so much into the company, they decided, possibly they don't want to leave. You can have situations in terms of continuous commitment where employees are not happy. They're not happy at all, but they realize that if they go to some other company, they're not going to get a deal as good as the one they currently have. They're not going to get the pay, they're not going to get the benefits, and so they remain with the company, even though in the long run they're not too pleased. And then the final motivational factor is what is called a normative commitment. We see this, I could say, the extent to which employees feel an obligation to stay with the company because somebody went to a lot of trouble to bring them on. Somebody went to a lot of trouble to write a letter of reference or recommendation. Someone went to a lot of trouble to hire this person because they're a family member or a friend of a friend, and that kind of thing. So all of these motivational factors can influence how satisfied and committed employees tend to be. Now let's turn around and talk about some of these theories. Okay, the first theory I want to talk about is what is called an individual differences theory. And very simply put, the individual differences theory says that the key or the source of a person's satisfaction with their job or dissatisfaction with their job does not lie in the job at all. It lies with the person and their personality. Okay, the basis is with them. It's not the job. There's nothing about the job you can really impact that will change their level of satisfaction, how much they like it or not. And there is research to back this up. It can be a question of genetics. I mean, some people are just typically happy people, and so they're happy about many things, including their job. And vice versa, they're unhappy people, and so they're unhappy about a great many things, including their job. Um, you know, Basically, this can influence your personality. This is something of a controversial theory, but there does seem to be a little evidence to back this up. All right. Another theory of job satisfaction and job commitment says that it depends on four components. It's called your core self evaluation theory. Job satisfaction is a result of how you score on four particular traits. The first you see there is emotional stability. Emotional stability refers to basically are you emotionally calm? Do you handle things well emotionally? Are you anxious? Even use the term neurotic. Are you quick to anger, or can you handle things when they get out of hand? Stuff like that. Okay, how do you score on that? Where do you find yourself in that realm? Another element is self-esteem, and that is basically how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as basically a good person, a capable person? Do you see yourself as incapable? Do you see yourself in a negative light? Self-efficacy, refers to your ability to overcome problems. Okay, what is your attitude about overcoming problems? Do you feel that's something you can do? Do you feel that's something that you're not very good at? And self-efficacy actually goes in very closely with this last one called locus of control. Who controls you? Okay. Locus of control is who controls you. If you have an internal locus of control, you often feel that you control you. Okay. If things go right, it's because of you. If things go wrong, it's because of you. Okay. That is how a lot of times it is perceived. Okay. This is what we call an internal locus of control. There's actually also what is called an external locus of control. And an external locus of control, just as a quick aside, is when people believe that control is outside of their realm. Friends control their life, their spouse controls their life, their kids control their life. Fate, luck, it's what it's all about, okay? If you get lucky or not. The extent to which you see your level of control, the extent to which you feel you can change things, that's self-efficacy. How you see yourself and how stable are you. Those four elements really can say an awful lot about your level of job satisfaction. It's called the core self-evaluation theory. Some others worth mentioning here pretty quick. Your book talks about culture, that some people, their culture is, certain cultures tend to be more stressed and dissatisfied, where others are less stressed and more satisfied. I think that can even be broken down into subcultures. Certain areas, certain regions, I think actually you see that in a certain way. Intelligence. Intelligence is an interesting factor because intelligence, the research says this, okay? When it comes to intelligence, the higher your level of intellect, the more intelligence you have, the less satisfied you are with your job. Can you believe that? If you, for example, have gone to college, you learned some very technical stuff. You have a high IQ. You have learned and trained for some very detailed work in a technical trade or engineering or medicine, and maybe you go out and find yourself doing some very basic jobs. You're not doing the fancy stuff that you trained for. The higher your the higher your intelligence, sometimes, at least in the beginning of a job, the lower your satisfaction. And on the flip side of that, if you don't have a high level of intellect, maybe you only have a sixth grade education, maybe you only have a high school diploma or GED, and you get yourself a well-paying job, low levels of intellect can result in lots of satisfaction if the job turns out to be a good one. You're just happy to be employed. And then we speak of what are called outside factors. Employees who are satisfied with work, they're satisfied with family and personal life, tend to be satisfied with their job. They're satisfied with factors outside of the job, so they tend to be satisfied with their job. Thus, job satisfaction is a product of outside factors. Now, what's interesting about outside factors is this: if a person is dissatisfied with their life, they're dissatisfied with their marriage, they're dissatisfied with their kids and their surroundings, and guess what? They're dissatisfied with their job. You'd think those people would turn around and probably do things to change that. And the fact of the matter is, no, they don't. Usually, people that are dissatisfied with everything actually don't go out and quit their jobs to go find something else. They're almost happy in their misery. Why do something to wreck it? You know what I mean? We actually find that people who have a very positive outlook on the outside factors but dislike their job tend to turn around and take those steps to change that around. So, that part does work in that regard. It's amazing how that happens. Okay. All right. Now, other factors that can come into play here very quickly: job expectations. Job expectations refers to when an employee comes to a job, they often have certain expectations, they have certain values, they have certain needs. And if a job fulfills that, then they're satisfied. If a job does not fulfill that, then job dissatisfaction can result. So it's a question of fulfilling expectations, knowing what an employee wants when they apply for a job, and seeing if you can fulfill that. If you know that your job can do that, then you should have yourself a happy employee. Person organization fit. The person organization fit refers to the premise and the idea that what you end up doing is not only hiring a person with a lot of education or qualifications, but also what's important is that their personality matches the personalities of the business, of the culture of the employees. If I were to hire someone who was very qualified, had lots of years of experience for a given job, and they turn around and they have the education, maybe a certification degree that is necessary, they got it all, but the job and the culture is very outgoing, very dynamic, very vocal, and this person's an introvert, okay, the person and the organization do not necessarily fit. Even though they have the education and qualifications, they don't go well together, and that can sometimes occur. The end result is dissatisfaction. So it's not enough just to look at education and past experience. It may help to look at the personality of the individual as well. Finally, a couple more: job equity. Are you being treated fairly? That's what equity theory is all about. Um, a lot of that is very perceptual. It's hard to measure. People can be treated fairly and think they're not, which is hard to deal with because you can even tell them and they may not believe you. But that can be part of it as well. So, but it's something to take into consideration, equity theory. And then finally, what are the chances for growth and development and that kind of stuff? What are the opportunities to do other things? You know what I mean? If a job doesn't have many of those, some people can be very disenfranchised and they're not interested in that. So if a job does have a chance to be promoted, a person does to learn new things. That fulfills a need, and a lot of people that's very, very important to them. Okay, folks, that's what I've got for now. All right, keep on keeping on, and we'll talk to you soon.